Okay, so I hope you guys are doing great, and I want to introduce to you something that I've been working on for a long time now, months. So this is JetAppointment Frontend, and basically what it does is it brings the backend functionality for providers to the front end. Now, starting from custom schedule, if you've dealt with JetAppointment before, you are familiar with something like this. So what we have here is your providers can now do this from the front end, setting the duration, log time before, buffer time after, and everything else down here. That is the work hours, Monday all the way to Sunday, and also customize their days off, working days if they have some special working days that they need to set specific work hours, and they can edit them as well. The good news is that this thing is 100% free, so you can check it using the link in the description down below. Go try it out in your environments, that is development environments. Then you can try it in your projects as well, and I'm also open to feedback. Let me know what you think about it and how it works for you from the other end. So the users can add days off, so start date, end date. They can edit existing days off just like that, and they can set their working days also, and they can edit existing working days. This syncs with the back end 100%. Then once that is done, they can just hit save changes and everything will be saved in the back end too. Okay, now when it comes to listing the appointments, this is a normal JetEngine dynamic table. And the reason why I did it this way, because I do not know how you want to organize your things. I don't know about the columns you want to use and all that stuff, how you want to call your services, whether you want to call them clients, users, whether you want to deal with the appointment date or everything else that you want to include here. So this is open to you to do it in any way that you want. The only thing that I will do is show you how to come up with this thing, how to fetch these appointments the way I have done it, and how to add these action buttons which come with the plugin that I'm talking about right now. So the users can reschedule, so the provider as well as the client or user can reschedule the appointment from the front end like that. So for instance, they can select the start time. Yep, so the start time, they can change the date if they want to and save the changes. Yeah, then they can accept or reject this appointment, and they can check the appointment information as well. So these are a few details in this model, the way you can see it here, and a different way as well is here when the client has local time set or used when they are booking their appointment. So if they book without using the local time, it will by default use the provider's local time zone. And if they decide they want to use their specific time zone, then what happens is that the appointment will be scheduled based on their local time as well as the provider's local time too. So the provider will see it based on their local time, and the client will have it based on theirs. So you can see the difference. Like for instance, the difference here, this is New York, 11 to noon, and this is Nairobi. That is 6 to 6 to 7 in the evening. Okay. So the same thing, let me show you from a client's perspective. Now here you can see the client can edit, they can edit the appointment like that. Okay, they can reschedule, not edit actually, and they can check the details. So this model is dynamic. It displays the details based on the user, whether it's the provider or the user client. That is for my case. Okay, so let me open up the listing for client or user appointments so that you can see the slight difference between what they see and what the provider also says. And yeah, there we have this one. Yeah, this is the client. So the client is looking at it like this. And also the back end, this is the plugin configuration settings. I will be coming back to this in just a short while. And I will also want to explain how you are supposed to set up your JetAppointment settings so that it works correctly with the plugin. So as you can see, what the client sees here, or the user, because JetAppointment has providers and users, that's how it puts it. But for you, you can call your users clients, students, whatever it is that you are dealing with based on your use case. So for them, they just have these 3 buttons. There is no that accept button, so it's just reschedule, cancel, they can cancel, and the information model. So that's how it is. And the client has this time zone selection drop down. For the provider, the provider cannot change the client's time zone, right? Yeah, so for the provider, they will just see what the client's time zone is from here, like that. It's just read only, so they will see this is the client's time zone, because when they reschedule, it's rescheduled based on the provider's time zone, if it's the provider rescheduling. And if it's the client rescheduling, it will be rescheduled based on the client's time zone, but as well based on the provider's time zone. Provider's time zone based on JetAppointment, it's always the default time zone set in your WordPress website. So that is what it's the provider's time zone. And just to mention is that if your providers are in different time zones, then JetAppointment does not have that yet. I hope they will introduce that so that each provider can set their own time zone, which will make it perfect to work across different places. But for now, it's just for clients. They can select their time zone and they can book appointment based on their time zone. And that's exactly how this front end system does it. So let us go back to the back end so that you can see the few things that you need to do. So when it comes to the general settings, number 1, you need to make sure that you have services post type. So you need to create that. And you also need to create provider post types, because all providers will be added as post types, and services are also post types. The way you approach services is entirely up to you, because you can be creating your services from the backend, or you can have services created when a post is submitted. So it's entirely up to you based on whatever you are using. So add those 2 there, then go to layout, and make sure that you have enabled this setting here, show time zone speaker in calendar. So that is very important because that's what the clients will use to select their own time zone that they are booking appointments from. Then lastly, go to tools and make sure you add additional table columns. Now I want you to do these ones: meeting, Google Meet URL, staff ID, and the status as well. So those are the basics that you need to add. And if you want to have the user select whether their appointment is online or offline, then you might want to also include appointment type. So the good thing with this is that you can add as many additional columns to the appointments table as you want, and that's the beauty with this thing. And this is also the reason why, as I explained, I did not make the plugin come with shortcode for displaying the appointments, because I do not know the columns that you will want to use. Right now, here are the shortcodes that you can use. That is for the schedule editor, the client action buttons, the provider action buttons, and the Google Meet settings, just as you have seen here. So the Google Meet setting is here, the custom schedule is here. So you can use those shortcodes to drop them in any page, or you can use Elementor widget that we have as well if you use Elementor to do that. So let me show you how this table is done, specifically with these action buttons, how to go about them, and that will be it with this one. So the rest is for you to explore when you try out this plugin. Okay, now there is a specific process for you to come up with a table like this, and that's what I want to take you through very fast. Now, before you can do anything, the first thing you need to know is that you need to create a query that will fetch all the appointments. So you go to query builder and give it a name of your choice. Then now this is where it gets interesting. You might be asking, why don't you just use JetAppointments booking query? The answer is simple. This one will not help us join tables because we are using two tables. The first table is the JetAppointments. Right from here, you can see this is the first table that we are using, JetAppointments, and we are also using JetAppointments meta table as well. This is because when you have enabled the client to use or rather to use their time zones when they book an appointment, where that is saved or that data for the client, it always goes to this table here. So we need to use these two tables. Now you might also ask another question. Okay, now why did you not use this one, SQL AI query, to do the same thing? I experimented with all these things and I know the challenges and the blocks that I kept hitting while trying this out. Again, you can use that, but it will give you a very interesting challenge, because you will be able to join these tables in a good way, but it will be difficult for you to separate these things, to separate the rows that we have for these appointments meta, because what happens is that each meta, that is user time zone, let me show you here. Just a second. Let me show you from, yes, let me just open it from here so that you can see. Let me go to appointments. Let me explain this way so that you can understand. So for instance, let me, I don't know which one has that, but I'll just try it out. Perfect. This is a perfect example. Now, do you see the metadata here? This metadata that you see here, including all this information, these ones come from that table, JetAppointments meta. So this is a separate table with what stores the appointment details, which is JetAppointments. Now, when you use SQL query and you join these two tables, what happens is that each appointment, because we have ID, this appointment ID, and each appointment is given, I don't know, how do I explain this? Let me also just show you the real table from the server so that you can get this and the reasons why whatever I'm telling you will not work. Okay, now this is the JetAppointment meta table, and what happens is that this column here has the appointment ID. So each meta is separated, or rather it's saved in a separate row, and it's associated with the appointment ID. For instance, look at this appointment number 95, 95, 95, 95, 95. So what happens when you use this with SQL query, it's that it will have, each appointment will have different separate array of this thing. And what will happen is that when you go to the front end, you will try this yourself so that you can see what I'm talking about. Each appointment will be duplicated based on the number of rows that we have for the JetAppointment meta information. So everything will be like, for instance, you will have the first appointment will be duplicated 3 or 6 times, and there is nothing you can do about that, and it's not easy to go about it using that SQL query. And that's the reason why we are using now REST API, which we work with special or custom code for this. So what you will now do, instead of using SQL query, you will have to use a REST API, and this is the snippet that I will share with you as well. So what you will basically want to do is that you will come here and alter these things based on the things that you have. Of course, there is no reason for you to touch these ones here unless you want to use different naming procedure for yourself. So you will have to keep it as is, and maybe I think you can just leave it as is, or just edit it based on how you want to have it. Then down here, it's where it's important, because these are the columns that we pull from the appointments table. All right, yeah, these are the columns. So you will have to edit this based on the columns that you have. If there is any column that it's missing from here or that you don't need, you can add or remove from here. Then the other one, it's the JetAppointment meta table, and you can as well edit, which it's down here. You can edit it based on the columns that you want to include in this thing as well. So it's entirely up to you to decide on how you want to use this. So this is a REST API that will fetch all the appointments for you, and it has security, so you cannot access this directly. The user must be logged in for them to access this thing. And the other thing is that I will show you that in a moment when setting up this. It's that this is the SQL, or I mean, this is the REST API that fetches the appointments, and that's what you want to come and use it here in the query builder. So you will select REST API, then down here you will select the API that you will have added, that we are heading to that right away. And you will have to set this query here so that this is the staff appointments. So we have this column or row staff ID, and that should be equal to the current user ID. I hope you guys are getting this. So when you come back to the snippet here, you will see we have these conditions here, because without these conditions, the query here will not work. This will not work. So the queries that you can add here all should be based on these conditions that we added here. And if you have new or rather a different requirement and you need to add another condition, maybe apart from provider, service, user ID, status, staff ID, appointment type, you want to add something else. Maybe you want to add based on client phone or client email or staff email or staff name, you can just add that here in this array, so that when you come to this part here, this can actually work. Okay, so it will filter. This is actually a filter. It will filter appointments based on what you set here. So without that, it won't work. Now, the other part which is important, it's when you go to JetEngine, before you even use that query, I mean use that REST API here, you must have configured it first in JetEngine, and that is going into the JetEngine dashboard, then proceeding to REST API endpoints here, then adding, you'll have to add a new endpoint. Then I will share that sample URL for your endpoint. The items part, just leave it blank, which will definitely be a slash, of course. Then you must use authorization here, and that is application password. So if you don't know about application passwords, you need to find out how they work, set them in users in the users section of your website, then add that there. This will not work without it. You must have it, and it's the same way that I said, you cannot access it directly if the user is not logged in for security purposes. So you must do that, then test your endpoint before you can actually use it. Now, when that is all done, you can now go back to JetEngine as well and create this table after having all these things done, just as I explained here. So you'll have to go to table builder, because now the table will use the query that we just built to fetch all the details that we need. The same works for the client table as well. So you'll have to create that, go add new, then give your table a name and select the query, which is staff appointment. That is what we created from the list. Then you can fetch data, you can fetch data from there like that. Then now the columns, you can now start building your columns. So for the first one, which is the service, what you will have to do is this. You will go to column content, select row, then data source, it's fetched column. This is because of the query that we are using. So it's fetched column. Make sure you select that. Then select now the column from the drop down, which presents the service from the table. Okay. Then there's something you need to do, which is very important here, because what happens is that the services are not saved with the title straight away. They are saved with the post ID or object ID. Yeah, so as I just mentioned is that JetEngine, or rather, I mean JetAppointments, when it comes to the services, they are saved as the service or the post type ID or object ID. So if you don't, for instance, let me just show you. Let me turn this off and reload the preview so that you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see here it is 7182. What that means, it's the ID of the post type. So what you need to do is enable fetch column, I mean filter column output. Then the filter callback, it's get post titles from IDs. That's what you need to do. So it will get the post title of the service from the post ID. Okay, so that is the first column for that table. Then the next one, it's client. This is just based on my approach or how I want to do it. You will do it based on what you want to do. So it's again raw value, fetched column. Then from here, we select the column that represents the client from the list, which is user name, which is user name from here. Username, it's here. Now let me make this clear. The columns that are available here are only columns that are fetched with the REST API. So what that means is, as I explained, if you need a new column from this drop down, then make sure you go and add that column here. So that username is here. Then we have provider, which it's there. Okay. And the provider will also handle it when we get to the other side. So if you need to add any column that you need in this drop down, then you will have to add it in that REST API code for it to be part of the things that we have here. Is that clear? I hope it is. So you will do that for everything except the last one that I want to show you now. These action buttons that you see here, or rather the action buttons that you see here, these ones here, you will do it in the following way, because there is no straightforward way for us. So there is no straightforward way for us to add a widget here in the table. And the only way that we have out is to use a template. So let us go and do it before we can come back and complete this one here. So basically what you do is go to JetEngine listings and add new. So what you want to add is to add the buttons. Okay, so something that I almost forgot to let you know is that this is a query builder listing. So that is what you'll use as the source. And the query should be our staff appointments query that we just put together a few moments ago. So that is very important. Now the next thing that you want to do is drop in a dynamic field. Okay, so this dynamic field is for this purpose. These action buttons require the appointment ID for it to work. and there is no straight way to pull the appointment ID in the table that we just created the previous time. So the best way to do it is to drop the ID inside this listing and hide it. Okay, so drop a dynamic field like that. Then the object field that you want to select here, it's JetAppointments ID, what you can see there. So that's what you want to set. And then you want to hide it in whichever way that you want to do. Or if you do not want to hide the ID, you can also make it visible if you want it to be visible. So it just depends. It's not harmful to have the appointment ID visible. Yeah, it's not. And the other way is that if you do not want to add it directly here in the listing, then you can add it in the table. So you can start like the first column to be ID, then like, okay, let us do this. Let me show you. You can just add like that, then just do ID, then there is raw value, source is fetch column, and it's the ID, which is here, and that should do. Then you just scroll it to be the first column at the top there, so you can have it like that. So ID, and you come to the styling here, and vertical is to go not vertical but horizontally to be on the left side. Then we can just give this like say 30 pixel the width, if that will do. Let me reload this again. Yeah, like that. So you can have the ID, service, then all these other things like that if you do not want to put it there. So there is no harm in having the ID added there like that. Then you can use it instead of using it here. So it should work like that. But for this case, just add it there. Then you can hide it. For me, the way I'm hiding it, I'm giving it the same color with the background, so you can't see it. Then drop in a widget. So you will have this widget provider actions. Just drop it in, and don't do anything here. Don't put an ID here, because we want the IDs to be dynamic based on the appointment that it's on the table. So don't add anything here, just drop it in. And you can do some little stylings if you want. That is the edit button, the accept button or confirm button, cancel button, and the information button. You can style them the way you want to based on these stylings that we have provided there. And that's all. Save that thing. Then when you now go back to the table builder, so when now you back on the table here, now you can go to actions now and use the column content should come from a template. Then select the template from the drop down there that we just created here. So the templates that you use here are not typical Elementor templates. They are listing templates. So understand that way. So once this is done like that, you can now go ahead and add this table in any page that you have these other things, or rather where you want the provider to see a listing of all their appointments like that. Now for how to add these buttons here and have a table that is similar to what I have here, check my other videos whereby I show you how to build a task management system. Go look for part 5 or part 6. I have explained this data table. I have provided the custom code and clear instructions on how to make it or make it work exactly like this. So check that out from those other sides. So the same thing, it's what you will do with the clients table as well. So which it's here, it's the exact same process. You will start by building a query, then doing the same thing. Now for the query, there's just a slight difference that you will want to do, and that is, let me exit this part, and that is to just change the query filtering. Remember we used staff ID equals to current user ID. So for the other one, what you'll have to do, it's now you'll have to use user ID equals to current user ID. That is the only thing you want to do, because the query, the REST API query, it's exactly the same appointments. Then the key here, this is what I'm talking about, user ID equals to current user ID, because user ID, it's what stores the IDs of the client or users. Then the staff ID, it's what stores the IDs of the providers. And that comes from something that I remember showing you at the start of this video, a column that I asked you to add in the appointments table. Remember that? Yep. So that's where the staff ID comes from. The user ID, it's already there. So you don't need to add any column that it's called user ID. This comes natively with JetAppointments table. So this is the only thing you need to change. Everything else follow the same step that we've done with staff appointments. But the only thing you will do is that the difference for the action buttons, you will look for client actions and not staff actions. So that is the difference that you will have with that one. So the other things that you will get with this plugin, so we have the Google Meet. You will have to follow the instructions here to configure that, the client ID and the client secret, and make sure you will have to also submit your application to Google for them to verify what it does and the kind of user information or data that it collects, so that when the users are using this thing, they will have an easy time. Because if you don't do that, they will always get that this application is not trustworthy. Only proceed if you know the developer, and that is not something that you want to take into a to a production website. Then you can do this email branding thing here, so that when appointments, now this is just a different way for you to skip using the workflows that are provided by Jet. They provide this thing they call workflows. So I just don't like their emails. What did I open? I opened, this is a list of providers. I wanted something else. I wanted settings. So what I'm saying is that we have workflows here in JetAppointments. So you can use this, there is no problem. It will just work the same way as you expect. You can use this, but if you want your users to get emails like what I have here, then you will have to do your branding here. So do the header, the logo, the colors, and the footer here, the social media links. Then when you go to email templates here. You will see them. We have all of them here. These ones work with the action buttons that I've just showed you, so you can come and customize these ones here, the message here. Okay, then you can do this for them. If you want to use this when an appointment is booked, you can come here and use this new appointment provider. This is an email that will be sent to the provider. So what you want to do is come and select your form. Actually, let me show you the form. So go to Jet Form Builder. You will have to build the appointments forms if you do not have them yet. You can import the pre-made form from Jet, from Crocoblock themselves. They already have one, so you can just get that, then come and edit the form. But let me show you what I have so that you can know what to do with this. So it's single service booking form. So remember, we have single service and single page. We are dealing with single service, not single page. So if your appointments are on a page, then this will not work for that use case. Yeah, I haven't done anything or tested anything like that. I'm basically working with services, not single pages. So you have the service ID, which is the current post ID, because services are post types. So the service ID should be the current post ID. Then these other fields are purely based on your setup. These are purely based on your setup, but you will need to have you will need to have things like here the provider, and the calendar. So these are important things that you need. So the provider can be a list of all your providers, or it can be something different. It depends on your setup. Then the appointment type, for me, I have two, that is physical and online. So if it's online, that is the only time that it's the only time that the Google Meet can be created, because it works with that. But again, with physical, it creates so that if the user changes their mind, they want to do it online instead of physically. So I will basically advise you guys to go and read how Jet appointments work if you are new to it, so that you can understand how to set up these appointment forms and all that. Then you will have the actions. The first one is insert appointment. So service ID is required. Provider ID field is also required. Okay. Then appointment date field is required. Then the user email field is also required. These are default fields that you need. Then the rest down here, it's based on you. These are now database columns that we added, so you need to map them appropriately. So staff ID, assign staff. Now for me, this works a little bit different based on my setup, but as you can see, you need to be very clear where these IDs come from. For me, they come from the post, the current post, which has all those things based on how my stuff works. I am not going to get into details about that one. Now, if you are going to use the things that I've shown you here, if you are going to use my templates that come with the with this stuff, then in your booking form here, you will have to add a hook as an action. Okay, add a hook as an action, then come back here and copy this hook from here. So once this form is submitted and the appointment has been inserted, the hook will be called so that it can send out an email that looks like this: new appointment scheduled. with all these details like this, and you will have customized yours here based on how you want it to work or look like. So remember to select that booking form from this list here. You can just search it from there based on what you have. Select it. Then once you do that, these ones will now work because they will pull the form field placeholders for you to use in these parts. So two, this is provider ID. Just add the provider ID or provider email if you have that in your form. If your form has the provider email, no problem, you can use that as well, or provider ID. Both will work. Just use that here. So provider ID. Then all these other things is entirely up to you to configure as you wish, and that should work. Then now down here, this is just an additional or a bonus for you. If you want to send if you want to send emails using the template with other forms that you have on your website, those are forms that have nothing to do with appointments, just normal forms, maybe contact forms, inquiry forms, or anything like that. You can just add them here. So you'll add them as a template, then select that form from the list, select to. This is the form field that has the recipient email, okay, and configure everything else here. Then you can craft the message using data from the form field, using your form like that, as well as these other things. So you can insert form fields inside the message content, then copy the hook that you have here and add it to that form that you have. So when that form is submitted, the email will be sent to the corresponding person that you've included to here, and CC and BCC. So this is for simple emails, but if you want to do more and send more advanced kind of this thing, I have something else for you here that you can use as well, which I'm not going to go crazy with right now. So you will see this from my other videos that you can learn more about. This is more advanced, but I've put a link in the description down below for you to go and read the documentation about these Jet Form Builder email templates. It has a lot of things that it does, and I'm pretty sure that you will be interested in it. It's available for free as well, so you can go and check it out, try it out, and let me know what you think about it. So if you have any questions about the plugin, the JetEngine, or rather the JetAppointments Frontend settings and the plugin, you will ask me in the comment section below. But for now, that's all that I have. Maybe just about the automation, this is just when you want to send reminders, when an appointment is approaching, you can configure that here, copy the cron command, add it to your server, and it will work like that. Then for the notifications here, these will only be available and work if you have Nelk's notification plugin installed. If you do not have it, that will be disabled, so you don't need to worry about it. What it basically does is it sends these emails, these notifications, like what you can see on your screen right now, alongside the normal emails that are sent out when appointments are booked, rescheduled, cancelled, accepted, all those things. And as well, if you enable or set up the reminders, it will also send reminders as in-app notifications when notifications are approaching their due time or due date. So that's all. If there's something that I've forgotten, just ask me in the description down below. And thank you very much for your time. That's all for now.